If you suffered personal injuries through no fault of your own, you deserve compensation for those losses. And you might be wondering, how much will I get for pain and suffering that comes from a car accident? The amount of pain and suffering in a car accident you endured plus other factors determine how much money you're getting in the pain and suffering. And you only really have one chance to recover financial damages for your crash. Here's the important part. Documentation is important. For example, when you go to the doctor's office and they ask you to rate your pain on a scale of 0 to 10, that pain scale is important because it talks about how much pain you're in at that particular time. But it's not the end-all be-all. For example, you may only go to the doctor's office once every couple of weeks. You may do a bunch of physical therapy sessions, but still only going maybe 2-3 times a week. That leaves an extra 4, maybe 5 days where there's no pain scale to help determine how much pain you're in. This is why I always recommend to my clients to do a pain diary. Now, the pain diary helps you kind of put your thoughts down on paper. It's the same thing about like taking pictures after a crash of your bruises. Hopefully the bruises will fade, and hopefully your memory of your pain will fade. But the written word at the time that you were feeling that pain helps your case. Here's the thing. If your case is you go to the emergency room and you have chiropractic treatment, that case is worth less than a case where a surgery is involved. But each case has its own value, and it's important to know what each case is worth. The best way to know what they're worth, though, is to do it on the paper, to write it down, and to make sure that you've got everything in an orderly fashion. Your lawyer is going to help you. Look, lawyers really help you through the process because ultimately these insurance companies hire people to pay you as little as possible. So, for example, most cases have 2 or 3 different adjusters that end up being on the case. There's an adjuster who deals with people like you who've never been through this before. This is their first time. And so they ask you a bunch of questions that at the time you don't realize kind of what's going on, but they're questions that are meant to hurt your case. The second is the attorney adjuster. They're adjusters who are trained to deal with people like me. And the third is a litigation adjuster. If we end up having to file a lawsuit, they're adjusters who actually look at the claim and say, okay, here's what we think the value is worth. Here's what we think we could do if you get to trial, what a jury could do, and what the risk is. So when you're looking at pain and suffering, you've got to look at all the factors. What injuries did you suffer? How long did you suffer those injuries? And what you did to make them better. Look, your pain should not always be a 9 out of 9 for forever. Hopefully it gets better, unless your doctor's told you that you've reached maximum medical improvement or there's nothing else they can do for your injuries. That's what you need to look for, and that's what you need to do to put yourself in the best position to get maximum compensation for your pain and suffering damages. If you have any questions or you're looking for a personal injury lawyer in Ohio, give Bressman Law a call at 614-538-1116, or you can always reach out to me by email at Jedidiah@bressmanlaw.com.